Was God unable to forgive the repentant? Did he have to punish the most innocent person who ever lived, his only begotten Son? Well, that's what the doctrine of Penal Substitutionary Atonement argues, and it's often claimed by adherents that the early church believed that too. So let's test that claim, starting with the Epistle to Diognetus.
This is Penal Substitution.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
This epistle was written in the mid-2nd century to a pagan Greek official explaining what Christians actually believe and, just as importantly, what they don't. This is not a medieval theological textbook. It's an early Christian apologetic explaining salvation to the outside unbelieving world.
When our wickedness had reached its height, punishment and death were impending over us. God showed great long-suffering and gave his own Son as a ransom for us.
First, notice what the author goes out of his way to say. God did not act in wrath. God showed long-suffering and patience, and he gave his only Son as a ransom for us. When the early church uses the term ransom, they're using biblical language, like in Exodus 6:6, where God says, "I will redeem you with an outstretched arm," and in Deuteronomy 7:8, where God says that he redeemed Israel from the house of slavery, and in Isaiah 51, which calls the Exodus the ransom of the Lord. No payment to Pharaoh, no guilt or punishment transferred to an innocent sacrifice, just God liberating his people from bondage. That's the ransom that Diognetus is invoking. The text never says God punished Jesus. It never says guilt or wrath was transferred. It never says God's justice is chiefly retributive. And in fact, death is treated as the enemy, not God, and not some supposed inability to forgive apart from damning his innocent Son. So what is the Epistle to Diognetus teaching? Well, it says right there in the text, the ransom model for the work of Christ, where Christ entered our death to destroy it, not to absorb punishment from the Father. Appealing to this epistle to defend PSA commits an error of anachronism, and it reveals a foundational misunderstanding of how the early church understood the work of Christ. So,